Hello and welcome to the monthly wrap-up where I talk about all the books that I read this month. So I read a total of this many books this month. Going to start with the unrated ones, the ones that I chose not to rate. So we have Eat the Rainbow, which is a vegan cookbook. It was pretty good. I tried some recipes, they were nice. And then I read Happier Hour, which is a book on how to better spend your time on things that make you happy. It was a little white privilege-y, but it was fine. And there was Big Beautiful Female Theory, which was an illustrated book, very feminist, very in your face, a lot about eating disorders and issues that women face. Then there was Punderworld, which was a Haiti and Persephone's retelling, modernized with their speech, so it wasn't really for me. I don't really like that kind of thing. And then I read Gluten-free Mediterranean. Yeah, this one was okay. The recipes were a bit basic. I didn't really love it. And then I read Ace Voices. I read it because I wanted to read more about Demi's sexuality, but the way the book was formatted and the way it was structured wasn't quite what I was looking for. The Good Life. Basically, the secret to a good life is in your relationships, the people that you surround yourself with. The Night Eaters. It's a book with kids who have mummy issues because mummy is not human. Strong Female Character by Fern Brady. This was a sort of memoir about her struggles with being undiagnosed for her autism and sexism and eating disorders and sexual assault. So it's very, very, very heavy, but I did enjoy my read. All right, then we're going to work our way up from the top to the bottom. So I had no 5 stars this month. I did have 4 stars. I had 2 books. One was Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I really enjoyed this. I didn't love it as much as yours truly, but it was still really enjoyable. A contemporary romance with a cutie for a love interest. And then I read A House with Good Bones by Kingfisher. Yeah, so this is horror. It does take a while to get into the really more scary aspects, but it was tame enough that I was okay reading it. I'm a horror noob, but I did enjoy it. The characters were interesting. It was slow to start, but it picked up. And yeah, it's a book with a lot of insects, roses, and uninvited house guests. And then we have our 3.5 stars category. So I have Love and Other Words by Christina. This book it's a mixed bag. I didn't enjoy reading about the characters as teenagers getting it on. I don't like reading about sex and teenagers. But I did enjoy the story overall and the writing, but there was a twist at the end where you discover the reason why they haven't spoken for so long. And for me, it just wasn't forgivable. And so it left a sour taste in my mouth. That's why I dropped it down to 3.5 stars. And then I read Happy Place by Emily Henry. So much miscommunication, guys. This whole book is a miscommunication trope with people that have been together for far too damn long not to have a single conversation about their breakup. That's why it was 3.5. Beneath the Sugar Sky by Seanan McGuire. This was cute. I do like this series overall. For some reason, it can just never hit a 5-star for me. This one was about a Confectionland tale, which I do like the nonsense lands a bit more than the logic lands. So that was Dragonfall, a book about dragons, where dragons have been pushed out of the world by humans and are trying to get back in there and take back what belongs to them. It was fine. It was nothing revolutionary, or new, but it did the job. It's a book about dragons and humans. A Hunger of Thorns. This is a really bizarre book. So it is a dark fantasy set in sort of a modern world with fairy tale elements, mostly focusing on the Swan Prince story. It's sapphic. It's real weird, but it was a fun time and I enjoyed myself. Now we've got the 3-star category. Wild Beauty, which was a book about women who can control flowers and discover that they've been basically unwittingly covering up a horrendous crime. A Mirror Mended, which is a sapphic retelling of Sleeping Beauty, but in this one, Snow White's thrown in as well. Song of Achilles. Patroclus and Achilles, but make it really boring and slow and not really feeling any of the chemistry. That's Song of Achilles. Isles of the Gods, a almost pirate-esque novel, mostly set on a ship, and that was really kind of forgettable with an annoying nepotism baby in the lead. Yellowface, R.F. Kuang's take on the publishing industry. I guess. A lot of stuff about Twitter and emails and leaving Goodreads reviews wasn't for me. An Absent Dream by Seanan and McGuire. I'm going to be honest, I don't really recall which particular story this one was about. They're kind of all blending together. I think this one was a logic-based book and had a lot to do with people turning into birds. The Me You Love in the Dark. A story about a lady and the master of the house, or should I say the entity of the house, and their quite unhealthy relationship. The Book That Wouldn't Burn, really bloody confusing time distortion jumping parallel universe novel between humans and dog-like creatures. Carmen, a graphic novel about sort of grim reapers who come to collect some of the humans, and one of the reapers is going a bit rogue and trying something unconventional to try and save some of these people instead of allowing them to die. Ducks by Kate Beaton, a woman's experience working in the oil fields in Canada. Very dark and bleak and confronting. Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore, a book about a book cult who team up with Google to uncover, or maybe not uncover, a mystery. And now we've got 2.5 stars. There are 2 books in the 2.5 star category. One is Martha Wells' Witch King. Something that I was really looking forward to, but turned out to be an absolute snooze fest. So you've got a witch guy and he does some stuff. Really, like, nothing really happens in this book. Bad Cree by Jessica Johns, a book about Indigenous folk tales with 2 sisters and trying to figure out how one of them died. It had a lot of promise, but there was nothing really amazing about it. With 2 stars, there is one book, and it's The Curse of the Saints. I don't even remember this book. I think it's to do with a thief and some power necromancy, I believe it was. And yeah, I don't really remember much more than that. And now we go to the DNFs. So this month I had 9 DNFs out of the total books that I read. We had One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston, which is supposed to be a sapphic novel about 2 women on a subway from different times that somehow meet, even though they exist in different times. It was also incredibly dull and boring, and I could not persist, so I did DNF. Some Desperate Glory sci-fi novel with a lot of rape and misogyny and xenophobia and all of these yucky things, and this is coming from the main character as well. So I persevered, I think, 300 pages of this before I just cast it aside. Did not like it one little bit. Symphony of a Deadly Throne. This was the 3rd in a series where there are 3 sisters with different powers. The elder sister in this one has the power with the violin when she plays, but this was all about her choosing responsibility over love and just being really damn miserable the whole time, and I didn't want to read about a sad sack. By a Thread by Lucy Score. I DNF'd this after 1 chapter because of the main character being such an absolute dick who objectifies women and is incredibly rude to waitstaff. So, by a Thread. V.E. Schwab, The Near Witch. Don't remember much about it. I listened to this as an audiobook and it all just kind of sounded the same. Something about a girl and a boy and love, but don't recall it. The Sinister Booksellers of Bath, a 2nd in a series. A lot of these books are just, yeah, they bored me. This time they got sucked into a map where there's some stone creatures, there's some sort of like powerful magician at play, but I couldn't care less. Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter, where a woman really is a choosy beggar and is very rude to the people that are allowing her to live there for free, and treats people like crap and just expects to be waited upon hand and foot and just expects them to put up with it. Basically, she was an absolute little brat, and I didn't want to read any more about her breaking said hospitable man's items and then telling him, well, he shouldn't have expensive items in his house. Okay. The Collected Regrets of Clover, which is about a death doula who's a bit of a voyeur and likes to watch and judge people. Orphea and Eurydice, a gender-bent retelling, bisexual retelling of Orpheus and Eurydice. This was awfully slow, so slow, almost halfway through the book, and nothing and much had happened besides them just hanging out on an island. I also didn't buy the Love. It felt very insta-lovey, didn't feel really a connection there at all. So I decided to DNF it. So those were all the books that I read this month. This was not a great month, guys. If you could tell by the fact that there was nothing over 4 stars, and generally they were all clustered around the 3. I didn't get that lucky, but hopefully next month will be better. So that's everything, and I will see you next month.